average. And I would say that Anna right now is in stage 1, shock and denial, which, given the amount of time that has passed, is the appropriate place for her to be. She still can't believe that this is happening. Can you empathize with that at all?
Empathize?
Can you experience vicariously what's going on with her, or is it only your own feelings? Can you imagine what her feelings are? Or are your own feelings so overpowering that you are unable to even guess at how she's feeling?
I can see how she'd be in pain.
You can see that?
Yeah.
You know, she is, I mean, I don't have to tell you this, you know, that she was left with a 3-month-old child, and that's going to be tough.
4 months.
She was 3 months when you left,
Right,
I think.
right.
And that's going to be tough. Society is going to judge you harshly for that. Now, I don't judge you, but that's the reality. You left her in the lurch. Are you getting any counseling or therapy?
What do you mean, like?
Like a counselor? Someone to
No.
talk to?
No.
Have you ever?
No.
Do you have a girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Do you talk to her about this?
Well, I mean, it comes up sometimes. It's she wants to hear. She doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't want to hear about it, of course.
Do you talk about it more than she wants to hear about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it would be useful to have someone else to talk to about it? Might enhance your new relationship. Maybe when we meet later in the week for a longer session, I can give you some names and recommendations of counselors. You know, the President of the United States has 10, 15 counselors. It's just someone to talk to, and they are not necessarily, well, they're not smarter than you, and they don't know more about your life than you do, but they help you keep track of what's going on in your own mind, and usually their role is to ask questions, to get you thinking about their questions. I think it would help. It's going to be a long grind, and the best thing you can do to make it shorter and less painful for yourself is to be tolerant of it on it and not to respond to her in kind. Remember that every emotional thing she does is transitory. These are all transitory. You can wait every one of them out, and there's nothing you can do to make any of them shorter. Let me say that again. Everything Anna does in her pain is going to come from a transitory emotional attitude. And the important thing for you to remember and the important thing for you to do is to not react. No, well, that's part, yes, not to take it personally, because this is Mother Nature working. Yes, we know that, that's Mother Nature. And also to not respond to what she's done as though this is going to be a permanent situation, because we know, statistically, we know 97% of the divorcing population gets over this. So I'll call you and set up an appointment for later in the week. Fair enough? Russ, how was that?
Well, I thought you did brilliantly, Brian. And you know, particularly with her, because what you did is you really precisely named her pain, and you could see, and I don't know exactly how the actress was, what her relationship was to this process, but she felt completely and utterly heard and seen when you named her pain. And I think for her that completely lowered her resistance. The other thing you did, because by naming her pain you you did release something for her, and she felt seen. But you know that will last for about 45 minutes after she leaves your office, and you put her in touch with a place or an environment where she could begin the process of having that occur regularly in therapy. So I thought that was really, really skillful. I think, and with him similarly, but it was interesting that you didn't so much. I think you identified with her pain. You did not so much identify with his. His pain was the pain of a lifetime of dealing with this extortion. I'm sure this extortion behavior was part of the pattern of their relationship, and I'm sure that he was frustrated. He called her crazy. So he's probably been living with somebody who was a little crazy, and I think that could have been named too, that he is suffering here too. I think also with him particularly, I would have, now I know there's only so much time, but I would have elicited from him a little more. With her, she was transparent. You knew where she was. With him, I would have elicited a little more from him where he was in this process. What was his relationship to the process? And specifically, what was happening with him as you were kind of giving him some excellent advice? Where was he with that advice? Was he responding well to it? Was he in a whole other world with it? He was a little oppositional in the first video, and I was wondering if he was secretly oppositional in this video. So I think I would have elicited from him. I thought it was great that you gave him a little dose of reality. Here's what's actually happening here, and this is going to take a long time to unravel. This is going to take a long time to untie this knot that has been created. And I thought that was an excellent strategy with him. Also, you were connecting him with, I thought very skillfully connecting him with his own network of support, which could be his girlfriend, and maybe not. And you sort of tested that out a little bit. And when that turned out not to be so realistic, you offered him the alternative, which would be to have a counselor, like the president has a counselor. I'm sure he could relate to that. He's not a psychotherapy kind of guy, but he could certainly relate to being the president.
It was when George Bush was in the White House when we taped that. So.
Was it really? I didn't realize that. There was
one would not know.
There was one other thing. Oh, I think the one other thing I think I would have done with him is I would have made before, because you correctly identified what was going on. But the truth is he already knew that. And I think he already knew what her process was because he's been living with her for however many years they've been together. And I think I would have made him the expert. I would have asked him, really, how is it? What's going on with her? And he didn't go there with you. But once you identified that she was hurt, I think I would have said to him, well, now how does this work? Is this something that she gets over quickly, or is she somebody who might carry this on for some period of time? I think that might have been for him more meaningful than to have him told that this was going to last for 28 months. But the 28 months was real. That was a shocker for him, and I thought that was great reality testing for him.
Okay. Say something mean.
I wish I could say something mean, but this is a pretty extreme situation, and I think dividing them minimized the tension that was obviously not going to be productive, was not going to allow the mediation to be productive. And honestly, I agree, the validation for her as far as letting her know that this is understandable, this is the way you're going to feel, this is not going to be easy, it's going to take time, is where she is right now. And it's, once again, it's part of just taking them the way they come. And figuring out a way to make that as tolerable as possible for her, and the idea of going off to counseling and finding other resources and is exactly, I think, what you needed to do. When we get to the husband, I think I probably would have given him a little more responsibility about what he needs to do during this time that we're going to allow her time to develop and through her stages. He might as well be using it for in a productive way as well. So perhaps educating himself about how he sees his relationship with that child. Step up as far as the counseling, not necessarily relative to his new relationship, but how do you pull off a co-parenting relationship? What's that going to look like? So that he can have more control over his life in the future and be more engaged in the process, instead of feeling like he's just pulling her along and that she's the problem. No, he's the problem too, and he's also going to be looking for the solutions, and he has as much responsibility for that as she does, as far as getting to that place where they can have the kind of relationship that they hope for around this child's best needs.
Laura?
I think I agree with both Penny and Russ. I thought you did a great job with her in terms of validating her experience and what was going on for her. I might have started that, though, rather than just, on one hand, it was fairly apparent what she was feeling, but I might have started it with more questions. What was the response she was hoping for? Because I think that the husband probably saw this as just a setup, her coming into the session, and it was pure theatrics for him. And so, was it pure theatrics, or was she trying to get something from him, and if so, what? And what did she really think his response was going to be? Is she in some fantasy where she thought he was literally going to jump up and say, "Oh my God, you're right, I can't leave you, what was I thinking?" Or would that at least force her to take some responsibility that no, she knew that wasn't going to happen? And that might have then, I think I might have started there and then moved into the validation of what she was experiencing. And I thought absolutely she needs to be working with her therapist here to try to process this. For him, I did think that you were much more confrontive with him. He was also very resistant, and I'm going to guess that's probably something that was in their marriage, that she sort of pushed, and his power in the relationship was just to resist, because he kind of sat at that table with his arms closed saying, "I'm not doing anything here." So I understand sort of going more straight at him, but I think I would have asked him more questions as well. Sort of what Russ said, what's going on for her? How has this happened before? Is this what your marriage looked like, this sort of interaction? If so, ask him how to deal with her, how to help her through this. I think you did a very good job of pointing out that him getting into therapy might be in his best interest vis-a-vis his new relationship. I actually thought you might have been paradoxing him there in terms of, well, can you talk to your girlfriend about this? Figuring the response was going to be, no, that's not going to work. I was also though wondering what, obviously there's a third person there, and how much is she pushing him to get this thing finished quickly, and would he on his own be more willing to just let it unfold? I also think that there might be a way to ask him what if he sees some little baby steps, some small little agreements that they could make in the short term that would give him enough space to really back off, that he wouldn't feel like, oh my God, we've got to get through everything right now. Well, do you? And to, again, as Penny was saying, to really put it back on him. Well, what are the things that we could maybe make some small agreements about that would be enough to satisfy him in terms of progress, and would then give her more time to catch up? Overall, you did fantastic. Of course, you are a master mediator.
This third vignette is intended to show anger and rage. We had 3 takes of it, and we're going to show you 2 of them. And we're showing you 2 because the second one was totally ad-libbed by Anna, and it is an example of how the anger and rage experience can be throttled up. This is not intended to be the same session that she came to with her baby and dog, although she still has her baby and dog. This is intended to be sometime later. And what's going on is that her husband, who is the one that wants the divorce sooner than later, has done everything he can to expedite it. And he's managed to get the necessary information to the accountant and to the business appraiser, and they have come back with their recommendation. Is everything has been done to the penny, everything is exceedingly rational, and he is ready to move forward and doesn't anticipate that there will be or should be any stalls. Well, Anna has no use for this rational approach to this life crisis, and she lets him know that in a very dramatic way. Okay, that was quite a session. We had the accountant make his presentation and the business evaluator make his presentation. Your business has been evaluated at $120,000 of what do you say? $120,556.29. I don't know how they do that, but that's the value of your business. Now, of course, Anna, if you feel that it's necessary, you can have it reappraised, reevaluated. Nobody is locked in by these numbers. The accountant determined that appropriate child and spousal support would be $65,295 a year, which works out to about $5,000 a month. It's not enough to live on as you're living now. And there will be some adjustments, and I'm not sure, this is just what the accountant thinks. You're not in any way bound by that number, but this does give us a ballpark. You guys are going extremely quickly, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. Anna, I don't want you to feel pushed in any way just because we're getting so much information. But having said that, I want to congratulate you, especially you, Mike, on the way that you put all this information together.
Yeah, well, I've done everything I'm supposed to do, and I thank you, Anna, for doing your part of everything. I want to get this over with as soon as possible. Just want to be done with it.
You're doing everything you can to get it over with. Does it feel like it's a business partnership that you're trying to conclude?
Yeah.
And a business partnership concludes by selling assets, paying liabilities, and then dividing what's left.
Yeah, okay.
And if there are hurt feelings at the beginning, the partners get over the hurt feelings and get back to business, the business of the partnership, which is winding up. Is that the way you think this will go, should go?
I like that explanation.
Well, there's some judges and legislatures, lawyers, and even men on the street that would agree with you, but I want to assure